You're listening to the Business Mindset by RSC podcast. Episode 6 is about the myth that business is consistent, and so the results will continue as they have been so far.
Hello and welcome to our Business Mindset by RSC podcast. RSC Business Group is a group of global business coaches and consultants. We operate independently, but share in the same vision, mission, and methodology. Today, we have Robert Chun, the founder of RSC Business Group. We have his affiliate, RSC Business Group Alpha, Brandon Ling, and myself, an affiliate as well, RSC Sales. We don't just consult and coach businesses. We are building multiple businesses ourselves. It's a way of life for us. It's something that is a passion for us, and we have dedicated our lives to this expertise. We are on an 8-part series of business myths. Today's business myth is the myth that business is not going to fluctuate and that business is not seasonal. This myth seems rather obvious, and I think people intellectually understand that business fluctuates, but emotionally and psychologically we see it causes a lot of stress for our clients. So we wanted to highlight it today to support you in your business endeavors. Robert, could you take it away and let us know, share a little bit about what we mean that business is seasonal?
Well, let's take a look in small to large. In a sense, you got a busy day and slow days. You got a busy month and slow months. If you're in an industry, you're impacted by the weather or economic current of that marketplace. But what you're going to find out most of the time that you're not a alone, isolated block of something, but you're part of the whole. So if you're like say a piano teacher and you're not busy in summer, it happens for 10 years, sooner or later, you know that your winter is summer. So you should be prepared for a summer, just like the ant prepares for the winter and grasshopper don't. A lot of the business owners are grasshoppers. They forget there is spring when there's time to put in a lot of work, very little return, and it's summer where everything grows, and fall where you reap, and the winter you prepare for the spring to come and to enjoy the fruits of your labor quietly. It's just that we like to believe everything is same, or if things are bad, it'll be same bad forever. But the only thing that's true about business is that it too shall be passing. Whatever you have now, it won't be that way in the future.
Good or bad?
Good or bad. And then nothing is same, but everything is cyclic and it rhymes. It's like poetry. It's not the same story, but same story told by a different character, different story. It's like business is a series of Doctor Who shows where characters change, actors change, producers change, directors change, but everything is the same. So in the same way, your business is exactly same but different. But once you realize that and there's a pattern, you can enjoy the winter. Instead of freezing, you can actually prepare and go skiing in the winter and go kayaking in the summer. You can plant in the spring and take the harvest in the fall. And you know what to do. So instead of fighting the seasons of your business, what you want to do is look and see and go, what is my season? What is my annual season? Where am I? Where am I in my life? Am I in the youthful phase? Am I in the entering into the summer of my life? Am I in the fall of my life, winter of life? Such that we can prepare so that we can enjoy every season for what it is, because nature, is neutral. It's just us and our reaction and preparation for it. So you are not alone. You're not a isolated block of entity or bubble, but a shared bubble that lives with other people. And you're in a season and you're part of the world. As a business owner, you must remember that. That's all. Hopefully this
That was
helps.
really beautiful. Yeah, it's really beautifully said. Brendan, do you have anything to add?
I could add some examples. There are different ways to deal with the seasons. First of all, you have to accept what the seasons are, and then you can make choices about, let's say, do I want to make so much money during the spring, summer, fall, so that during the winter, when it's low season, revenues dropped, I can weather it out because I saved money in the previous seasons? Or do I want to find different ways to compensate for that winter? So this will be a more literal example. During the spring, summer, fall, they do landscaping, actually more like lawn maintenance, cutting lawns and so on, but on a larger scale, and as well as some landscape. In the winter, then they do snow plowing, pickup trucks they used to use to carry all their equipment during the summer and the spring and so on. Now they put a snow plow on the front.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically two different types of businesses, two different in terms of services throughout the year. I know somebody else who does driveways, make all their money during spring, summer, fall. And in the winter, goes to warmer climate and
Mm-hmm.
doesn't work for the winter. Then as long as the business makes enough money while it's operating and then saves a certain amount of money, then spends a certain amount during the winter when there is no revenue. I've seen other businesses where, okay, their slow season is during, let's say, December, January, February. So then it became about what kind of promotions or packages or different types of services to offer during the
Mm-hmm.
slow periods to be able to increase the revenue during the slow periods. And depending on what the market is and what those services are, products, you may be able to completely compensate for that dip of the bread and butter service, or maybe it just brings it up a little bit so that you don't need to save as much or compensate as much during the high season.
Yeah, well said. Those are really great practical things to think about inside of your business. One of the things that I really follow is like the business doesn't have problems, people have problems. And that's a distinction that I constantly make. So it's not necessarily a problem that the business is seasonal. It's a problem for the owner who has his daughter's wedding coming up and it's a low period in his business, or it's a really busy period and he's asked and demanded of, right? So it's not a problem on the business, it's the problem on the business owner.
It's a problem with humans because organization and businesses don't bleed. You don't get
Mm-hmm.
tired, you don't get sick. It's just
Mm-hmm.
the humans that are involved that gets tired and sick and have to eat and use a restroom and sleep and whatnot. So
Mm-hmm.
as an owner, your job is to build an entity that is tireless, don't need any other stuff, with people who are human,
Mm-hmm.
with temperaments. And
Mm-hmm.
so over time, you get to build all weather organization
Mm-hmm.
so that by having multiple entities, multiple corporations, multiple markets, that parts of the company can rest while other parts of the company keeps on working, so that
Mm-hmm.
overall increase even flow and a growth.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the art in itself.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it is an art. I remember when I first started, the reason that I wanted to be a business owner was for two things. Um, One, so I couldn't get fired. Okay. And because I got fired once and I was like, no, I don't like this. This does not feel good. So I wanted to like foolproof this. And the second reason that I wanted to be a business owner was so that it would turn me into a version of myself that I really liked. Okay. So I saw other business owners and they were getting up, they were inspired, they were inspiring, they were respected, and I thought, my logical conclusion is I'm going to become a business owner and therefore I'm going to be like that, right? Because, like, if you're a business owner, you're making everything for yourself, it must be such a grand life. So, with with seasonality in mind, I found out that not only could I get fired, I could get fired eight times by eight different clients. Even though I was more secure, it was the firing itself that stressed me out. And I had to get used to the fluctuations of clients coming and going, and that it had nothing to do with me, right? And I could let go of it as well, instead of like holding on tight and being stressed out about it. And that gave space for clients to leave and come back. That gave space for clients to give me referrals and things like that too. So there was really great anxiety that I had to deal with in the seasonality of clients coming and going, of building certain pieces and those pieces going away. Where in employment, you go to work and the only thing that could change is that you could be let go. But everything is generally, when you're employed, pretty standard. It doesn't fluctuate as much. So this was really jarring for me. And then in the seasonality of things, of myself and my growth. So wanting to become a business owner, I remember laying in bed and I'm staring into the ceiling. Like, I'm really depressed. Okay. Because I am a business owner now. I make money just from my business. I don't have a side job or anything like that. I support myself through my business. So technically, I've arrived at my destination. But the problem was, I am really unhappy. I'm uninspired. I like myself less. I'm working more, and I am not the version that I wanted to be. So, like, I feel like I'm in this huge deficit, right? And I discovered that, I was like, and I remember laughing out loud, right? Like, at the stupidity of that thought that I was going to somehow transform and become that version. And what I had to do now is, on top of the business, become the version of myself that I wanted to be. So I had to deal with the seasons of business. And I remember that moment. I was like, I got my trainers on. I looked at the gym membership, like the gyms that were in my area, and I made appointments to go visit them because I had to get fit. I was going to be more inspired. I was like kind of pulling myself up on my bootstraps from my sadness, right? So the business also doesn't care about the seasonality of your emotions and what you're dealing with. So the business operated, it made money, but it didn't actually matter if I was happy or sad.
That's not what you built your business for. If you
Mhm.
built a business to keep you happy or sad, it would do it. Business only does what it's programmed to do.
Mhm.
That's the problem.
Mhm.
If you don't program it, it doesn't do it.
Mhm.
So if I take a company and I say, okay, your job is to go public and make lots of money for the shareholders, it doesn't care what it has to do to produce the result. Tear up a mountain, no problem. Destroy ozone, no problem. How can you do that?
Mhm.
Well, you produce profit. So for you, it was like, I need income. But it did
Mhm.
not mean Aurelia was going to be happy.
Yes, exactly.
Be careful what you wish for in your business. It will do
Mhm.
exactly what you program it to through your actions, inactions, conversation, and non-conversations.
Mhm.
Once you realize that, you free yourself up,
Mhm.
and then you also find that you're not a person anymore. You're a whole group of people other than yourself.
Mhm.
So it frees you from tyranny of you.
Mhm. It does. Yeah, and then there's the seasonality of employees. And so I have a goal for my
Mhm.
business, and I am in the flow with my business because my business needs these things. There's a demand, and I am going. Like, I'm just moving in tandem with the business. I almost feel like I belong to the business rather than I'm an owner, right? That's the
Well,
experience
in
that I
the
have.
beginning, because in the beginning, you're an operator, you're a
Mhm.
worker, supervisor, executive. You bring
Mhm.
operations in or you bring a financials in. But
Mhm.
if you take that over, you're now bound by that position. So,
Mhm.
so being a business owner is working really hard to fire yourself. So what
Mhm.
happens is that so you can actually be an owner. See, most business owners are not business owners; they're business operators.
Mhm.
They have to run and be part of the machinery of the business for business to function.
Mhm.
There are some of us that are rare that they don't have to be operator, but they're just simply owners. They're
Mhm.
shareholders. They get paid.
Mhm.
But most business owners are not business owners at all. They're really business owner operator, or
Mhm.
they're business operators, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we spend our life making money so we could bring people, hire them, and pay them
Mm-hmm.
lots of money so we could be free again
Mm-hmm.
and literally run away from the business, but have the business pay you on a regular basis.
Yes.
So over time, business pays you to keep you away.
Yes. Well, because then you become a bottleneck, right? Like which we'll get into the myth of. I think it's a really great myth. So we should definitely
Mhm.
post note this one is where you become detrimental to your own business. Like the myth that you're always good for your own business. There is a point where you're hurtful to that business. But
Right.
what I was going to say is with seasonality, there's also the seasonality of, I have these plans. It's going to go according to plan. It's going to happen. Two of my employees get sick, or one of my employees gets sick, and then one
Or
of my
volcano
employees,
erupts,
right?
or there's earthquake in Taipei,
Yeah.
or your market melts down. Right. Being a business owner is not about what happens, but how
Mm-hmm.
you digest what happens to produce the result you want.
Mm-hmm.
In a short term, you have no control, but in a long
Mm-hmm.
term, you can digest everything that happens and move it toward where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
So being a business owner requires you to have a long view
Mm-hmm.
against your will. See, as a human being, we just want to live a short amount of time, have fun, and enjoy ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as you go higher and higher, you're now responsible for more and more people
Mm-hmm.
and longer time frame.
Mm-hmm.
And then you gotta get yourself out of the way so you can do your job. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of interesting position to be
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
you matter less and less now over time.
Mm-hmm.
You
And
get
that
taken
mattering
care of.
less and less, that connects back to what I guess the myth that Aurelia was pointing to, which we'll discuss another time.
Yeah.
Yeah, the myths do interact and intersect quite a bit.
Yes.
Something I want to add on to what Robert mentioned, and this also goes back, it's a bit of a tangent to something you mentioned earlier around getting fired, right? And then
Mm,
you realize that it had nothing to do with you. So something I want to clarify about that is, yeah, it has nothing to do with us personally as as an individual, as a person, I have my feelings and so on. It more has to do with the service being provided or the product, whether it's a right fit. It's really about fit, right? Whether it's in some cases my personality is not a right fit for that type of person, or maybe it's a type of work, what that person or that what that business needs isn't the type of work that I want to do or I'm willing to do, right? I could do it, but I don't want to, or I'm not willing to. So then I wouldn't be a good fit. And then, other times there are lessons for me to learn. Like I remember once, okay, so my ego got in the way. It's like, all right, well, I said certain things probably shouldn't have. Anyway, get fired. It's like, all right, fine. What am I going to do to adjust to that? What can I learn from that so that I don't, so I'm in better control in the future so that I don't get fired if I don't want to be fired?
oh, so well said. Yes. Yeah, we can with retrospection, responsibility. It's really an opportunity, I think. Anytime these things happen, is to look at the service. If it's a huge problem, you may want to hire somebody, that maybe has that skill set. There's so much you can do, right? As long as I find the most unproductive thing you can be is to obviously feel sorry for yourself, feel down about it, or things like that, and get to kind of a destructive mindset. But you could look at it as an opportunity, which, may seem on the surface level as crazy to look at something happening that distresses you as an opportunity, but really it is. Oh, Robert, you're muted.
One of the things that you're gonna find out as a business owner, it is your failures that makes you grow.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you a whole new pathway that never existed before.
Mm-hmm.
So as a
As long as
business
we
owner,
learn from those failures.
we don't have a
Yes.
choice but to learn, unfortunately. If you don't want to learn it, it's fine. You just repeat it forever until you do.
I think it's how quickly you learn it too. Like
That's
if
right.
you, right? So yeah, the fail forward. It sounds cliche, but it's so 100% true.
Right.
Or learn from other people's experiences.
I have done that too because I consulted, right? And I consulted in the sales space and I saw these owners grow and I saw all the problems that they would encounter and just like seeing what they were doing has allowed me to build my business in a much more foolproof way without the suffering that they endured. But I would have never been able to do that had I not seen them go through it.
Yes. That's the beauty of being a coach. You
Mm-hmm.
learn so much.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just hang around long enough, your clients will teach you everything you need, and your value will keep on going up as time goes by.
Mm-hmm.
You can help yourself. So it's kind of a beautiful
Yeah.
career or pathway.
Yeah, well, when I started out, I was paid to learn. That is a real big asset to business that people don't realize. I think a lot of people are really wanting to make sure, am I pricing for value enough, for my work and so on and so forth. I think I personally price also for the learning opportunity of a new industry, the experience, the owner's expertise. I put that into the equation as well for value, especially when I was starting my business and into my rates.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
put that into the calculation. So I still have a client that is just so really inexpensive, like my rates.
mhm.
But the value that I have is I get to really play a lot, and I get to learn an industry that I wouldn't normally have access to in this kind of direct way, which is the best way that I learn is from experience and being in it. It's the IT industry. And when I look at the IT industry, it's one of the industries that is most foreign to me.
Mhm.
It has a lot of abbreviations. So everything is in IT is called what it's supposed to be called because men named it. So they're not creative names, okay? So all IT terms are the exact thing that it is. But then because men generally stereotypically like to skip steps, every single item that they named properly is an abbreviation of something. Even IT is an abbreviation. They don't say information technology. So the whole entire industry, when you hear people speak, if they said the full non-abbreviated term, it would make sense to you. So I find the industry very fascinating because I plan to build large businesses that are going to need infrastructure, and they're going to need IT. Information technology is going to be really important. So I have that insider knowledge on building it. So that's why I stay
You're
there.
gonna be, as a business, you're a summer working with business that are in the spring, going into summer. So it'll be
Hmm.
interesting to see how you guys interact.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, I think I digressed a little bit. I'm sorry.
There are multiple seasons that the business needs to deal with at the same time.
That's right.
For example, on an annual basis.
Hmm.
I'm in Canada, so then in the winter, people are more staying inside. They don't go out as much. Summer, people want to go out, enjoy the weather for the relatively short summer. So then they'll take vacation at that point in time. They also take vacation in the winter if they want to escape it, if they can. Or if they're going to stay in the country, then they work. But Christmas time or December is usually slower. January, some people are still on vacation so it's slower until they start getting going. Spring, people work more. Same thing with fall. Robert mentioned it earlier around seasons in life, which would apply to the business owner in terms of spring, summer, fall, winter. You could apply it to their lifetime or the lifetime of the business. So that's having to plan for two different cycles of seasons.
Right.
And then there are other cycles to account for, economic or what's going on in that particular country or jurisdiction at the time, which can be affected by a number of different factors, whether it's birth rate, immigration, or just trends in that area.
Or the season that your romantic relationship is in. So say you are in your maybe fall winter season, but your new relationship is in your spring season,
Mhm.
right? You're going to be a very different winter and a very different fall.
And very different spring.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a 43-year-old male marrying 26-year-old female, for example, the young lady's in spring to summer and the guy's in summer, the middle of summer. So what happens? Energy levels different, needs are different. If your
Mm-hmm.
business is in the summer and your body is in fall,
Mm-hmm.
So business will seem harder because business wants more of you while your
Mm-hmm.
body's declining. In my case, for
Mm-hmm.
example, so it's interesting to see because businesses itself can be in any season outside of what human season is. So that's the interesting part of being business because business can be forever spring, forever summer, forever fall, forever winter, but not the humans. And it is in the environment that has different season, right? So business could be in the fall while the environment is in spring. So
Mm-hmm.
once you really realize that, it makes life easier or more understanding of life.
Better understanding and better able to plan. Some people could go crazy trying to plan out all these cycles in a spreadsheet or something like that.
I don't know anybody like that, Brandon. Do you?
I would probably try to do that. I haven't tried yet.
Yeah,
uh,
the power of season is not a season itself, but power of predictability
mm-hmm.
and the joy of having the right match and right activity and
Mm-hmm.
having it work. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, it's when everything comes together and you can, be able to predict 10, 15, 20 years in advance. And when it all comes together, it's just beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And there's incredible joy in it.
What I appreciate about you, you're a big key to being able to connect it all is to label things properly for what they are, not try to change them or not wish that it were different. So, in wishing that somebody fit better, that is a very futile activity. Really taking people as they are, the business as they are, the market as it is rather than the way that we want it to be. Because we could spend eternity wishing that something turned out or was different or that the world conformed to make it easier for us. But
Right.
when we take the world as it is, right, the way that it is, and when we take things literally. So my first business was a renovations business, and my business partner was my ex-boyfriend. At the time, I didn't know, but he started the business to salvage our relationship, and we
That
still
was a
fought.
purpose for it.
That was the purpose for it,
Did it
right?
succeed?
He did not, but we had a lot of other wins. So you know, I was pretty good. We had clients coming in. I didn't know what I was doing. But we had clients coming in. We staged, we had pictures, we had a logo, we were incorporated. Like I didn't even know what I was doing, but I did everything that I knew to do, right? We had an intern that was awesome. And the moment that we had kind of everything, that's the moment that he told me, I don't want to be an entrepreneur, right? So I did all this work, I built it all up, and then he tells me his communication. I don't want to be an entrepreneur. And what I did is I really listened to that. I thought about it like I could have had him and convinced him, but I would have always most of my effort as a co-owner would have been kind of dragging him for something that he didn't want to do, and that would have been the majority of my work. And I thought about it for myself, and I didn't want to do that work. That's not the way that I wanted to. So I listened to him, I listened to myself, and what I did, I walked away with just immense amount of gratitude because he was clear he didn't want to be an entrepreneur. I was clear I did. And my life has never been the same. So even in that moment with hearing that news, if you can be with it and you can be with your reaction, what they're saying very clearly, you can make better decisions.
So is your next business going to be? No, never mind. Sorry.
But the reason why I mentioned that that was a purpose for the business, I said that specifically because it connects back to something Robert had said earlier. The purpose or intention behind starting a business or having a business has an effect on how things go and the experience the person is going to have owning that business or operating that business. Different stages of life. So if we go back to seasons of, let's say, the business owner, the reason for starting a business, depending on what season the owner's in, might be different. And then as that person's life moves into another season, the
Mm-hmm.
purpose for having the business may change. But if they
Mm-hmm.
don't if they're not aware of that, they may not change the purpose for having the business, and then it just stays stuck in the
Mm-hmm.
original intention or purpose.
Or
Yes.
you become affected the business. So you say, I'm doing my business to raise my family, and all the kids get married off, and your business fails because business no longer has a reason to exist, so it destroys itself. But family, kids got raised, they all got married, went to colleges, had kids, and so forth. So business was a success inside of the purpose, but for the man, he might experience failure because he forgot that he started the business to feed his family. Or somebody wants to improve a town, and a town becomes really good. It's a gambling mecca of United States now, but he gets shot, for example. So business itself carries on despite the owner. So I learned this. One of my clients made doors and windows in Las Vegas. His factories was in Utah. His retail store location was in Las Vegas. And he wanted me to build a company that would outlast him. 20 years later, I met him at a hotel, and he had a heart attack, had a stroke. Half of his body was not working, but the company was strong. And his wife, his brother, and family was running it. Later on, it was owned by the Chinese. They bought by Chinese. He's gone. He passed away. But the business is still selling windows and doors in Las Vegas. And Utah factory is still getting its workers from places like Home Depot and let's see, 7-Elevens and let's see what else, coffee shops, because the original owner used to get workers from those places to work in his
Mm.
factories. So the habits last forever too, and then law firm that I know, it hires all the people from Hilton, all the former Hilton employees,
Mm.
because that's what they did in the beginning, right? They couldn't afford, they needed cheap employees. So that's what they did. But 10 years later, they're still same. So some things you create, we don't know why, but organization carry it on.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine a beautiful human resource department, and there's young guy. Well, we got to get some new people. What do you mean to do? I want you to go to Home Depot and Starbucks and scout for people. What? We got internet. We got social media. I know. We do that too, but this is what we do.
Mm.
Fun stories.
I love it. Yeah. We are giving practical examples of the mindsets to have in dealing with seasons. So, one of the things that we mentioned is, looking at things as the way that they are, right? And understanding that even though some things change, other things don't. And sometimes it can be really difficult to change certain things. So, being present is really key. And another key, I think, is how you label something as bad or good. So you have to be really careful in how you label an event. So I had my biggest client let me go. It was on a Monday. I read the messages to you, Robert, on the what transpired between me and the client, and I thought I was in the right. After I read them, we found out I was a bit sassy, right? So we found out that I shouldn't message clients on a Monday morning. It's just not a good idea, and I have never done it since because because that is the time that I'm most likely like going to be like off with their head, right? It doesn't reflect who I am, 95% of the time, but Monday
Do it
morning I'm
after
sassy.
coffee, not before coffee.
Exactly.
Don't give them bad news 7 a.m., 6 a.m. their time without coffee.
Exactly. And so that comes to your point, Brandon. It's like, what happened? Reflect and just put something in there. But the other thing that I did is, even though I was pretty devastated, the mindset that I created for myself, and this was also part of the sassiness too, because I was not going down with this ship. Like, this is not the way that Aurelia was going to end her story. So I was really determined, and I repeated this like religiously, obsessively. Okay. I repeated this and I said it in my head like it was my lifeline. It was the most important thing to do. And I said, this is the best thing. I don't know how, but this is the best thing to happen to me. I don't know how, but this is the best thing to happen to me. And I created it every moment. Every moment that I felt like it wasn't, I recreated it. And then what I did is I also managed my feelings. And I visualized things that made me feel good whenever I felt bad. So I checked my emotions, I checked my mindset, and I fervorously did that for a month. And it turned out, I wouldn't say it would have been the best thing that happened to me had I not created that mindset, but because I created that mindset and I managed my feelings, it made me very triumphant, and is the reason for majority of my success right now, is that sassiness, that Monday morning sassiness with the firing from the client.
So we went from a
Right
summer
there.
to winter in a one text.
Yes.
And then you adjusted to the cold.
It's like, just go, buckle up.
Okay. Good to know.
Bundle up, not buckle up. Sorry. Anyways, it was more of a car crash.
In the winter.
Exactly.
But it worked out.
It did.
Got a better car, better
Yes.
road. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So
I'm glad.
that matters. So I think unless you have anything you want to share that will support our viewers, we could be complete for today's podcast. What do you both think?
I'm going to say one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you have, great situation, do your best to prolong it. But if it's a bad situation, always know that it will pass. This too shall pass, and there'll be greater things ahead for you. Just want to let you know.
Thank you, gentlemen, for today's podcast. To our viewers, thank you for tuning in, and we would love your feedback. Share with us what you're dealing with, and we'll see you at you'll hear from us in the next episode. You can speak. Episode.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
The Business Mindset by RSC Podcast is brought to you by Robert Chun at rscbusinessgroup.com, Aurelia Usita at rscsales.ca, and Brandon Ling at rscbga.com. Music is provided by Davey Harris at daveyharris.com.